have Anthony Taylor from Happy with Par Disc Golf. Now, Anthony Taylor is a member of the Clash Disc Ambassador team. And as I get to learn more from these ambassadors and working with them, I found out that Anthony has a brand called Happy with Par. It's got a really cool logo with a basket, kind of a guy walking with a smile and everything. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to learn more about what his goal is with the brand, how it got started, how it's going with his business, what are his dreams and aspirations for the brand. And so I invited him on the show to learn a little bit more about that. Plus, I wanted someone to talk to about a few topics that were going on in disc golf, one being Gannon Buhr and Prodigy Disc, how they kind of have settled things on that and the lawsuits have gone away, and also about Disc Golf Pro Tour acquiring Jomez. I had my thoughts on it, but I wanted to get feedback from somebody else on my thoughts and get their perspective on it. So let's take a listen and hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you've been looking to try some Clash discs or just want to stock up on some of your favorite Clash discs, make sure you grab a great deal out at ClashDiscFactory.com. That's where they're sending me misprints, and I'm listing them on that website so that you can grab some great deals on some misprints. So head on out to ClashDiscFactory.com and grab some great deals on some Clash disc misprints. How are you doing today, Anthony?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me, Bobby.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you have been on Team Clash Discs, the ambassador team, for a while now, and then noticed that you had a Happy with Par disc golf company. You had some cool logos, and I see you on your Instagram selling T-shirts and hats and stuff. So you and I had been talking, and I thought, man, that would be kind of interesting to learn more about what you've got going on with Happy with Par. But first, tell us really quick the elevator pitch of you in disc golf. How did you get started?
Yeah, I got started playing disc golf just kind of through my local friend group. A lot of my buddies were already playing golf and kind of roped me into helping to do some coursework and maintenance early on. And getting out there, just sort of helping out, seeing how many more people were getting involved kind of made me want to try it out. I was not really digging it at first, just a lot of woods courses around here, so a lot of dinking in the trees. But once I was able to kind of get down a little bit of a flat release and maybe, one big putt just kind of hooked me. And that was sometime around the beginning of 2019. And yeah, I've just been kind of fully immersed in the sport ever since.
Now, what you said there was a lot of wooded courses. Where did you say you're from?
I live in Maryland, kind of smack dab between Baltimore and Philly. So I'm right on the East Coast. The closest course that's probably notable is Iron Hill, which is in Newark, Delaware. And Iron Hill is known as being, kind of a beast, very rocky, very wooded. And that's kind of par for the course around here.
So Maryland, I can't think of the seasons with Maryland. Do you get a pretty good long disc golf season as far as warm weather to be able to get out there and play?
Yeah, I say our winter is kind of weird now, where we, it's kind of like shifted off to, I remember being a kid when, it'd snow in December, and then now we get snows in like late March, and then all of a sudden it's spring. But I'd say we get disc golf. A lot of my friend group plays all year long, but we get some good disc golf from April to November. So a lot of season to play.
Nice. All right. So what I really want to touch base on again is the Happy with Par. So you've been playing disc golf, you started liking it and things like that. Where did Happy with Par come about?
Yeah. So Happy with Par.
First, before I should ask this. What is Happy with Par? Maybe we should go there first. What the heck is Happy with Par?
Happy with Par is merchant apparel for the everyday golfer with an emphasis on PMA. PMA is positive mental attitude.
There you go.
And so the PMA pieces kind of comes from a band called Bad Brains. They're like an old school punk band from DC. Oh. And one thing that they preached was PMA, positive mental attitude, and just sort of overcoming adversity and I guess making the most of the situation. So flip back to saying that when I got started playing disc golf, I wasn't really having a great time. Just dinking trees and feeling like I was kind of struggling to get up the course or to get, up the fairway. And then a couple years later, when I started, getting it down and I'm able to hang with some of my buddies and maybe it's really wanting a birdie. And it's funny that I would go from, feeling so inept to feeling so confident that I think I should be getting birdies every time. But that was kind of just the competitive side that I was kind of brought up in the sport. So happy with par as a phrase. I don't think that I invented it by any means, but it definitely became a thing that I started saying sort of as a joke, but also trying to encourage myself. And you trick yourself into that positive mental attitude again. Yeah, and it just became this journey that I kind of carried on, and so then the brand sort of started because I was making shirts for our local club, Cecil County Disc Golf, and that was cool. I felt good about that. I have a background of being in a band where I would make a lot of album artwork, flyer artwork. We're writing songs and sort of this little world in my brain to just dump all my creativity into. And when I got into disc golf and started spending all my time doing that, I really did feel like some of the creative outlet dropped off for me as I was doing a lot more physical activity, which was really good for me too. But yeah, once I started making the merch, it kind of clicked. Like, there's something here. I didn't know of a whole lot of sort of streetwear, casual kind of brands that overlapped with the disc golf thing that I was into at the time, and so that's where I thought I was kind of stepping in. Just making some fun clothes for disc golfers that you could wear off the course as well.
Nice. I like that. What type of music did your band play?
So actually, I put out a couple hip hop albums first. I did a little bit of rap in there for a minute,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, I used to MC on some DJ sets, and then me and my buddies brought our band back together from high school, and it was like punk rock with sort of a little surfy guitar vibe, maybe a little reverb, a little bit of that Dick Dale kind of thing going on. So it was a lot of just fun. We were just trying to have fun.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, I was looking. I can't remember if it's your Instagram or Facebook, but there's a picture where you got a microphone and you are like in it. You are like in the moment of singing. I was like, dang, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I used to live for that, man.
So so the official logo, or is it an official logo of Happy with Par? It's kind of that basket character, right? Is
Yeah.
that something that you came up on your own, you drew, or had someone put together for you?
Yeah, so I drew that up, and it was a lot more rough looking than that. And my sort of take at the time was I was kind of thinking, just like the walking character, just, they turn any inanimate object into sort of like a human-like character. But I was really kind of feeling like sort of a Mickey Mouse vibe when I was trying to draw it up. And it kind of wasn't translating through. I could see it in my mind's eye, but I couldn't really get it down.
Yeah.
And then back when I was in a band, I had a buddy from another band who is a very talented artist. His name is Chris Gipple. He's from Annapolis, Maryland. He's done a lot of concert posters for some jam bands and stuff. Have you ever heard of Pigeons Playing Ping Pong? They were a pretty big one that he had done flyers for, and others. But he also had done some beer labels, and he was awesome, an awesome artist. So I reached out to him and kind of just sent him a photo of what I came up with and said, "You think you can clean this up for me?" And he sent me back that walking basket first take. And I knew right away, like, it was just money. I loved it.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so you started out, you're happy with Par, you're loving the whole positive mental attitude thing, and you wanted to be an apparel. Like, where did you just think, hey, I'm just going to print out a few T-shirts and see what happens, or how did you start that process?
Yeah, I just went all in, kind of. Let me think. I mean, I got the logo back, and I think I just hit up a buddy of mine in the disc golf community who was screen printing some shirts at the time, and I just asked him, "Hey, you think you can make me like 50 T-shirts?" He was like, "Yeah, sure," and then got back to me after I sent him the artwork, and he was like, I'm gonna just keep one of these shirts. Maybe I'll keep like 4 or 5 of them and give them out to a couple people up here in Delaware, because I live kind of Maryland's a small place. I can get to Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Jersey in like 30 minutes. But anyway, So I'm like, cool, man, keep them, give a couple out to, the local golfers that he had kind of been in the community for a little bit longer than me. And I was just trying to shop mine around to my local club and mostly my friends. And next thing you know, I was just selling. I sold every single one of them, and I was running it all through my personal PayPal at the time. So I probably charged like $15 for those 50 shirts. Was easily able to pay off my screen printing buddy, and then just kept getting kind of people reaching out and asking me to make more. And at the time too, I made the Instagram first, and it was really just because my personal Instagram became overrun with disc golf stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I'll make this other Instagram and just post all my disc golf because that's like the only thing I'm doing right now. And I named it Happy with Par, sort of back to that joking little thing. So it all really just kind of started and just snowballed. And um, I don't know. I think the saying, a body in motion stays in motion, kind of translates to this project for me too. And it was making me feel really good, just doing something creative, getting some positive feedback. Um, so next thing you know, it's like, I guess I got to do hats now.
Now, how long ago? You may have said it. I'm sorry if I missed it. How long ago did you say you did that first run of T-shirts?
I think that was March last year.
March of last year.
Yeah.
And so you sold out of those. And did you just keep making more? Did you make more designs or?
No, I just was like, all right, well, called my buddy Bobby, who was screen printing. I said, let's run another one. The fun thing for me at first was just coming up with kind of colorways. Like, um, I used to be kind of a sneakerhead. So back in the day, I remember, you wanted to have, a pair of shoes that can match multiple outfits. So that was kind of a thing that I was, thinking on, as I'm kind of putting together colorways. What is kind of versatile, but also unique? Um, so that was the thought process early on. Just put that walking basket logo on a bunch of cool different color schemes and try and see how many people we can get wearing them on the course.
Now, past the initial excitement of people wanting to buy your T-shirts, how are you taking it, I guess, to the next level as far as people being aware of the brand?
Well, I've been pretty engaging on Instagram, I
Yeah.
think, over the past year. The connections that I'm making there are very real, authentic. I think that keeps people kind of paying attention and coming back. Also, within my local community, I've been pretty active. I'm lucky to have a really good core group of members that show up to do coursework and drive tournaments. And I think that I'm one of those guys. So, in doing that and being out on the course, and I'm trying to support tournaments when I can through player packs or sponsoring holes and CTPs, and really just giving back to the community that's, sort of financially enabled me to do some of this, because at the end of the day, I'm putting out my own money and hoping that I make it back so that I can, push another run of merch. And it's been really cool to have a lot of people that support it from the jump. I mean, the logo is sick. I would buy it if it wasn't mine. So, that's easy. But also, a lot of people know that I mean what I'm doing. I really am trying to push the message of, positivity. And when you thought it should have been a birdie, remember that it could have been a bogey. Be happy with par. That's a metaphor that's bigger than just disc golf. So I think that's the thing for me. Is it's also flip side of that coin is it's made me hold up a mirror a lot and recognize that if this is what I'm preaching, I sure better live it, and I
Yeah.
want to live it. So it's been really cool.
Nice. So what kind of a phase are you in right now as far as the brand? I saw you put out a new design,
Yeah.
trying to kind of build. I think I think it's still in effect. You're trying to get some funds to go to Worlds, correct?
Yeah, so I actually just paid my invoice to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and I am officially gonna be a vendor at Worlds. It's
Nice.
100% happening. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah. So I did kind of put out a new piece of art, I guess, if you will, and this is the Cooler Heads Prevail wave. So the walking basket is always going to be there. I really feel like that's the core logo for Happy with Par. The cooler heads prevail and the cool brain, the brain with sunglasses. That was something that came to me years ago as well, when I was in a band and I was kind of going through. I had some back issues there for a while. I actually had two spinal surgeries before I even turned 30.
Mm.
So living with kind of chronic pain was another little obstacle that I'd faced. And through that, this idea of cooler heads prevail really came through for me. Just, when times are tough, know that there is, a solution or an option to try and fix it. For me at the time, it was literally just when I wake up in the morning, my fingers are numb and I have this pinched nerve in my, and that's something that a lot of other people could relate to. I don't talk about that much, but
Yeah.
so yeah, when I was working on that and going to PT and stuff, this cooler heads prevail was something that I just kind of kept saying. And then I just thought of a brain wearing sunglasses because sunglasses are cool. And I was like, that's kind of badass. Um, so I'm working on the manufacturing line at the time, and while I was running some machinery, I drew that. I drew the brain with some sunglasses on it. I was like, this is pretty cool. And another friend who was in bands at the time was a tattoo artist, and I got it tattooed.
Oh, whoa.
That's all that it was for, was just for me at the time. Um, but yeah, through the Happy with Par thing, I just thought I wanted to bring that back. I thought that it was a cool idea. I wanted to bring it back and share it with other people. And so far, it's been, I think, been going over pretty well. Um, so yeah.
So, tell me some of the challenges you've had with this turning into just. Sounds like you just had some ideas for some graphics. Some people liked it. You thought, oh, well, maybe more people will like it. It seems like more people like it. It seems all exciting, like really cool. Like, wow, people really like it. But I would imagine there are also some challenges with trying to grow this brand. Talk about some of those.
Oh, I'm doing everything right
Yeah.
now. I mean, that's a challenge in itself. I post a lot of fun stuff on social media because that's, I think, the number one, or Instagram really. I've never done TikTok. Facebook is cool, but a little less engaging. But Instagram is just an awesome way to connect with people from everywhere. Dropping an 8-second reel that didn't take too long to make, and I can kind of rack up a series of those over the course of one round if I'm having fun with a buddy that's willing to hold a camera. Um, so that stuff's all really fun, but behind the scenes there, I have a website that I'm running. Like I'm honestly not the most tech savvy person. I grew up in the age of the internet, but like I didn't ever know how to run a website. So I, started watching some YouTube videos and figured, hey, Squarespace seems easy enough, and kind of regret Squarespace honestly because of just certain little shopping options,
Mm,
pre-orders, some certain sizing things, stuff like that. But anyway, you live and you learn. But I've
yeah.
got a website that I'm the photographer for, I guess. I mean, because I have to take pictures of the merch and then I have to post them. And then I'm fulfilling orders and I'm boxing orders in my basement. And I have a day job and I have a 3-year-old son and I have a
Mm,
partner. And so I mean, I've turned one thing, another piece of this is I'm one for sayings, and one saying that I always liked, it was a lyric from a song. This band Hot Chip says, "We take fun seriously," and that's
mhm.
kind of something that I've always tried to maintain as well. It does become a challenge when you take something as fun as your favorite sport and your creative outlet, and then turn it into this thing that is consuming the other half of your life. But um, I'm a dreamer, and I really do get caught up in the possibilities of what this could be. I don't know. I've been very much kind of keeping my face involved in it a lot. And I think for some, I definitely have heard some people be like, so is it about you or is it about the brand? And I don't know where I end and the brand begins sometimes because, like
Mm.
I said, I mean, this is as much for me as it is for anyone else. And I want to do podcasts and interviews. I mean, I'd like to drive them myself someday. Like I was telling you just before we went live, like I just bought this XLR mic and I'm trying
Hmm.
to, like revamp like a setup to make media.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit more money that I need to
Hmm.
funnel in. I need to figure out how to use this stuff. So Um, yeah, it's challenging being a one-man operation, but I also don't think I'm built to take on like employees or anything. The biggest thing for me was like doing taxes last year. Like I kept track of everything in a very loose, unorganized manner, and then all of a sudden I had to go do taxes and like establish my QuickBooks in a week, and that was interesting.
Yeah, I hear you on that. My last year was my first full year of being self-employed, and it was scary, just the unknown of not doing it before, and then I did it, and then I remember the accountant that I had do it for me. He was like, "Hey, did you know you should be paying quarterly?" I'm like, "What? What do you
Yeah,
mean quarterly?" Like, yeah, and I'm like, "How do I know?" Well, you're supposed to estimate, and you're supposed to. And I'm like, "No, I didn't know all that. I didn't know this. Why would I
yeah.
know this?" So anyway, so I feel you on that front. So what is kind of what is the end goal with Happy with Par as far as merchandise? Give me, or do you even have it planned out? Or are you just kind of riding the wave?
Yeah, I'm kind of just riding the wave. I think my subconscious plan, because it's definitely been coming up more. I think maybe my subconscious plan has just been to grow this as big as I can until it becomes very clear that I can't handle it, and then cross that bridge when I get there. Um, the decision to go to Worlds was really kind of that was a spur of the moment kind of thing as well. My my partner and I and our son went on our first family road trip to Smuggler's Notch in 2021, I guess, or yeah, 2021. Um, and we kept saying that we wanted to go back. There's a lot for kids to do up at the family resort. So when we started looking into it, and I realized Worlds was literally going to be there, we decided to just go for it. Or she gave me her blessing, and I decided to just go for it. And yeah, once again, I think that this is a step in taking it as big as I possibly can. And then I'll cross the bridge where I get there. But I think the dream for me would be, um, you know, on a local level, I'm seeing it already. I'm sponsoring a lot of tournaments. You see a lot of people in my merch between my local community, the Delaware community, the bordering county community. Where you show up to Tournament Central for a players meeting, and there's probably 5 to 15 Happy with Par shirts and hats in the mix. That's a really cool thing for me to see. Um, Everybody here probably knows Birdie Disc Golf Supply. That's run by a guy, maybe half hour, 40 minutes from me. And when I first started playing in the local scene, it was everywhere. You see Birdie Disc Golf bumpers on the bottom of baskets everywhere. Um, I want that. I want that. I got to sponsor 9 holes at the Texas States. So what was that? The week after the Open, I believe. Um, so they actually have 9 courses from MPO to juniors, and I had my sign sponsoring 1 hole on each course. That was
Nice.
pretty cool. I saw a picture of we saw videos of Eric Oakley and James Proctor playing practice rounds, and they're teeing off with the Happy with Par logo right next to them. And I got a picture of Calvin Heimberg teeing off with my logo, and it's that maybe that's a small goal to just see my logo out there, but that's really driving me and motivating me right now. So, yeah, I just want to be a reminder for fun across the entire disc golf community.
Now, as far as like, let's say we look 5 years down the road, are you seeing like just more apparel or discs, or I mean, what's the big picture there?
Yeah, I mean, I did my first run with Clash. Well, I've done a run of putters before with Gateway Disc Sports. People really seem to enjoy them. I did a 3 disc challenge with a bunch of discs that had some artwork on them that was really cool. I don't have one sitting right here. Um, but so I think I have a kind of cool marketing mind and art, the artwork thing. I like putting together the aesthetic. So I definitely think I'm going to be continuing to build more of that. And like I said, merch and apparel. So shirts, hats, socks, sweats, discs, who knows, earrings, like jewelry, like I don't know. I can see a little walking basket pendant looking awesome hanging from
Yeah.
some FPO players' ears.
Yeah.
So yeah, across the board, I don't know. I definitely don't want to put myself in a box by any means. Like I said,
Right.
I'd like to get more involved with some media work. I'd like to interview some players. The thing for me is, I really, really just like talking about the overlap of disc golf and mental health.
Mm.
I think that I think that mental health in general has been a really relevant topic in the world and in the news and in our media, especially since there's, I don't know, the political climate and COVID and just so many other things that we've run into. But yeah, we're starting to think about mental health a little bit more like dental health. And if you go get a checkup every 6 months on your teeth, you should get a check in on your thought process and how much pressure and stress you're carrying. And the game of golf, we know, or disc golf, we know a lot of people say this game has changed my life or saved my life or given me this outlet, and it has done that for me. And you know
Is
just
that
being open.
so? Is that something that you do on a normal basis? Kind of do a mental health check-in?
Bobby, I've been a head case for as long as I can remember, buddy. I yeah, I actually so I've been to therapists over the years. That's
Mhm.
something that I'm open about. I think that, it's important. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, you should. It's
Mhm.
not always easy to open up to family and friends and be completely vulnerable about things that they might have opinions about or this and that. So yeah, I definitely try to check in. I try to do a little bibliotherapy, do some reading, whether it's kind of self-help books or
Mhm.
I'm not I'm a very spiritual person, I'll say. So I think that any method of thinking or practice that leads you to a place that you think you're gaining something, like follow along with that. One thing that's been really cool for me is the Four Agreements. It's Toltecan wisdom. There's an author of the book. His name is Don Miguel Ruiz,
Mhm.
and let me think. The Four Agreements say to be impeccable with your word, always try your best, take nothing personally, and then the other one's escaping me at the moment. But those are kind of like umbrella thought processes. And as I'm as I'm facing these obstacles and this adversity in disc golf, and I'm learning how to live with myself and um, just live with or rework sort of that all or nothing thinking sometimes. That's given me something that it's a parallel in life and golf. So that's what this is for me. That's what the goal is for me. Bring the attention of other people to that. Maybe the game of golf is something that can benefit them as well. So
I literally, on my way to the gym and on my way back, I like to listen to podcasts and different podcasts to kind of get my brain going in the morning. And there's a podcast house, Order of Man. Have you ever heard of Order of Man?
yep, yeah, I have.
He just interviewed a guy named Matthew Vincent who literally talked about the four agreements that you brought up.
Yeah,
So as soon as you said that, I was like, whoa, wait, what? So yeah,
yeah.
it's be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best.
Don't make
So
assumptions. That's what I was
yeah,
missing. And
yeah.
that's one that I make assumptions entirely too much. And so I actually have the Four Agreements written on my honey, on my proto honey,
Oh,
and
nice.
sometimes on the tee pad. I have to read them and I have to remind myself like that tree didn't do it on purpose. Don't take it personally. You know?
And yeah, the way he explained it made a lot of sense. A lot of things that people say or do, you don't you too many times we make assumptions what their intentions were behind those words or their actions, and then we take it personal. And a lot of times it's not really on us to take it personal. It's on that other person to figure out what's going on in their mind or whatever
Yeah.
to work it out.
Yep.
So
Two
yeah,
things off of that I want to say
yeah,
really quick.
yeah,
Um, there's a saying about people being self-centered, right? Well, like literally, we are the center of our own universes. So to make everything about you is it's human, I think. It's like that's the easy thing to do is make it about you, to take it personally. But to break out of that and, recognize, like you said, that everybody's kind of we're all living our own experience and nothing is happening to you because the universe wants to knock you down. Sometimes there's just a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
great.
and the other piece to that I was going to say is, another saying that I absolutely despised for a really long time was happiness is a choice. But ultimately, I mean, you control what you think about. So whether it's being stuck in traffic and now you're just harping on the fact that you're stuck in traffic and you need to get somewhere, that sucks. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Click that brain to think about a project that you're working on, or how much you can't wait to hold your kid, dog, cat, lizard when you get home.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I said, that was a tough pill for me to swallow for a while, and it was way before disc golf. But happiness is a choice. What you think about is yours to control, and that can be on the course or not. So
Yeah, it definitely comes down to a matter of perspective, and that's
mhm,
basically what it is. You're changing your perspective on your circumstances, so that's great.
sure.
Cool. Well, okay, so we're going to shift gears, like completely shift gears. And I sent you a text because this is some topical stuff that I like talking about. And so I love talking about it with other people. And I was like, well, Anthony's going to be on the show. He loves disc golf. I'm sure he pays
Yeah.
attention to what's going on. I'm sure he's got an opinion. So I want to talk about it. So this is going to be a complete shift. So before we jump into that, though, I love the story with Happy with Par. I love learning more about it. I knew kind of a little bit about it from your Instagram. So you're doing a fantastic job getting your message across on your Instagram account. So I definitely highly recommend people following you, Happy with Par DG on Instagram. But I love what you're doing with that, and I think that's going to be fan. I love that I love hearing, I didn't know what to do, so I went to YouTube to figure it out. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I do the exact same thing. Even when I get stuck on social media, it's like, man, what do I post? I'll just go, what should I post this week? And I'll start reading a few articles. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, and it doesn't, I don't feel like it's a cheat. It's just me learning. It's just putting a little spark there and me going, okay, that makes sense. I'll kind of morph that into disc golf and make it some posts. So that's really cool. I love that. So, but what I want to talk about, the topical stuff that's going on is one of them is I just read the other day that Gannon Buhr and Prodigy have sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a settlement or an agreement, but it seems like on the outside, they've come to some sort of truce. Gannon Buhr is wearing Prodigy. The lawsuit's gone. Prodigy's not suing Gannon for all the defamation or for whatever they slander, whatever the legal words they used. So you as someone who's in the disc golf world, what are your thoughts? Is this a great thing? Is this a well thing? Or did Gannon lose? Did Prodigy lose? What are your overall thoughts on it as far as the disc golf world?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't say that I thought either one of them lost in, dropping the lawsuit and Gannon kind of continuing to represent the brand. I think that's written into a contract. They're either going to argue over that and it's going to continue to look bad for Prodigy, because I think that's all that we saw. If you looked on Reddit or Facebook pages, I mean, the disc golf community was kind of tearing them up there for a minute.
Yeah.
There was already some quality issues that were kind of, rumored about, but how old is Gannon? Like 17 or 18?
Something like that. Yeah.
He's a young kid, he's out there having fun, and he's absolutely on top of the disc golf world. Prodigy is like very well known for being one of the first brands that really paid players, right? They brought a lot of
They were back in the day. They weren't
yeah,
the first ones to really pay them. They were the first ones that were like, everything we do, well, not everything, but their whole push was, we're for the players. We're going to give the players part of the company. We're going to try to achieve health insurance for the players, and we're going to pay them a salary that that can help them be on the road and tour. And yes, I do remember the beginnings of manufacturers sponsoring was mostly we'll give you discs, we'll give you shirts and things like that. We'll give you discs for you to sell. I don't know that Prodigy was the very first that gave them money, but they were the first one that said, "This is what we're doing for players." I specifically, it's interesting you brought that up. I specifically remember being at the memorial when Prodigy was making this big push, and there was a big scene at the end of the memorial, at the ending basket, hole 18 at the fountain, and all of these players, Jeremy Colling, Nicola Castro, I can't remember who, maybe I think it was Katrina Allen, but all of these big name players were just like, Prodigy's #1, and it was just like, this is so fake. This is so fake. It was so, Prodigy's the best. They were slapping, doing high fives and stuff like that. They're like, Prodigy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. So anyway, not to dog on them or anything like that. It was the moment. It was what was happening. But anyway,
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. No, I
digress.
No, but I think that situation that you talk about of just maybe Prodigy trying to help establish, even health insurance, like,
Yeah.
So I've only been really paying attention to disc golf since like 2019. I definitely have seen the photos of a young Nico and Yuli and Germ and all of them, all Team Prodigy. And I know that like Will Schusterick and Cale LaVisca have been involved with Prodigy for a long time, and they're great stewards for the sport. So by no means would I disparage the brand, because number one, I definitely believe that they do have, the best interests of players, or at least they have a good interest at heart, and they're aiming to do something. But at the same time, like, you do need to run a business. Who knows the kind of offers that Gannon's getting either. I don't think it was a good look at all for it to be a lawsuit that went public before maybe some sort of conversation behind the scenes with the team, because I mean, I didn't think it looked cool. And then it just started the rumor mill, and Gannon was wiping Innova discs, and that's what he was throwing. And, like, that never looks good. And I don't think any of that was on Gannon at all. It always comes back to Prodigy.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people were making the memes about Prodigy who's dead and stuff like that. But from my perspective, I believe it was a win for Prodigy, only in the sense that it was a win for manufacturers and contracts. In other words, a contract is a contract. I'm not in Gannon's mind. I'm not in Gannon's world. I say hi to the guy, but that's about it. But he signed a contract. Now, was Prodigy not fulfilling their side of the contract? Yes, there seemed to be the argument. Now, that's just based on articles read and social media posts read. But I didn't read their contract, so I don't exactly know. But it seems like now, if a player's like, well, I don't like the way this is going, I'm going to post on social media and I'm going to cancel culture them. Not that was Gannon's the whole thing, but but the manufacturer was like, well, wait a minute, you signed a contract. This is a legal binding term, and we're gonna do what we say we're gonna do, but you're gonna, So I think it was kind of a win, even though it made Prodigy look bad. It's still, Prodigy is where they were from the beginning. As far as what was happening with Gannon. And did it make us bruise on Prodigy's name? Yeah, but I feel like
bruise his heel.
I think people are going to kind of get over it, and now we're going to go back to hating Prodigy because their flashing is terrible. So
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So, it's just it's interesting to see disc golf grow up in that sense where. It's now I've been privy to contract discussions and arguments and manufacturers not treating their players very well behind the scenes, just from my dealing with Dynamic Disc. And I'm not saying Dynamic Disc was the manufacturer. I'm talking when we would talk to players that we were trying to get. Some of the stuff was just like, wow, and it was like too many handshake deals, and we need concrete contracts that says this is what you get, this is what we expect on both sides. So, but
and there's ways to negotiate. When you're signing legal documents and you're making these deals that are only getting bigger, right? I mean, as far as it's going, you do have to honor the deal that you made, and
Yeah.
the best way to move forward and make sure that you're not having finding yourself in a situation where you're not getting what you negotiated is to sign those contracts and follow through with things, legally. And unfortunately, you got to play the politics sometimes. That's
Yeah.
If we want our sport to grow and get bigger, then that's one of the things that comes with it, is being able to navigate the politics and the legalities of making this big stuff happen, I guess.
And as with all things, and I will have to say, even though I kind of poked fun at Prodigy at the very beginning when I was telling that story about the memorial, Prodigy did make manufacturers kind of stand up and go, okay, we need to take this a little more serious when it comes to compensation for our players. So they did set that precedent in the sense that somebody had to do it. It had to happen at some point. Prodigy did it. And now I do remember talks of other manufacturers being like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a thing. We're going to have to pay these players a little better to have them represent us. So speaking of that, so now my thinking is, I think this is Gannon's, like, I know 2023 is the end of contracts for a lot of multi-year deals. I know Eagle, Paige Pierce, I believe Missy Gannon, I can't think of anybody else, but at the end of 2023, they're now free to move on if they want to somebody else. And I think Gannon is in that boat as well. So I wonder if this is like, if Gannon is just going to play out this year and
Start throwing a pepper.
I don't know if that'll happen, but I mean, I just wonder what the big shakeups are going to be and how this affects Gannon, whether deciding going to somebody, staying with Prodigy or moving on. Does this up his value or lower his value? Or, so that'll be interesting.
I mean, I think it ups his value. I don't know. I don't get too caught up in really caring which team players go to or which brand they're throwing. I will say, after the fact, I do get excited. I remember when Ricky first went to Dynamic, and I immediately bought the Felon, like the Orbit Felon. But and it happens here with Simon a bunch going to MVP. But there's also, it's kind of fun to watch people jump around.
Yeah.
To think about, I think so. I mean, I think like it's just like players getting traded in the NBA or something. It's
true.
kind of fun. It's kind of fun to watch, and it's definitely different, but it's because we're not playing a team sport per se. There's camaraderie across a lot of these touring disc golfers, but I just think it's fun, and I do think it opens people up to new brands, and that's a part of growing the sport. The thing with Gannon, though, that is kind of interesting to me is, like, there's the photos of Gannon when he was like waist tall with Will Schusterick throwing Prodigy back then. So to be a kid so young, that was that was his dream, right? And he got to live it, and now he is kind of the one. I don't know, balls in his court a little bit. Yeah, he definitely has got some play. He's definitely got some playing time.
Yeah,
that's really cool, man. So, I couldn't care less which way it goes. I definitely wish Gannon and Prodigy best of luck. I'm here to see the sport grow, I guess.
So what are your thoughts? So I know you say you don't really pay much attention to it, but you do like seeing in other sports how people go from different organizations to other organizations. What are your thoughts on this? This is something I remember talking to a few people about us knowing players, the dollar amount when it comes to contracts. Now, we know the big guys, the Paul McBeths, the Simon and all that. But we know when someone gets drafted. We know when someone goes from one organization to the next. We see the headlines of the big deals and things like that. We know how much they get paid. Do you think would be a thing in disc golf? Do you think that's something that people would, I think people would, it would become more fodder for people to talk about when it comes to disc golf,
Sure. And to be honest, that is the least interesting thing about the sport to me. but I do think that it's interesting, and from the perspective of being a player, I think I would want to know what other cats on similar tiered teams are making, right? Because
exactly.
Now I know how I get to negotiate, and it's definitely something that if I was a player, I would want to know about in order to negotiate my dealings, my contracts, make make me more valuable. Maybe they recognize all of a sudden, dude, I need to work on my social media presence, or I need to get out on the putting green because I'm not even getting offers like so and so.
Or maybe people be like, I don't know that I want to do disc golf anymore if that's all they're
Yeah,
going to make.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a bunch of young kids start putting the discs back and picking up a baseball bat.
I know. So anyway, so that's interesting. So, okay. And then the other thing I want to talk about real quick before we go is the Disc Golf Pro Tour acquiring Jomez. I've watched Smashbox, I watched Upshot, and initially it feels like this could be a good thing. And it could be a good thing, but I don't think it's a good thing how people think it's a good thing. I honestly think that we're going to see post-produced full tournament coverage fall away, and I think it's going to fall away faster than some people think. I know that, in fact, I thought it was very clever with Jeff Springs, and I'm not dogging on him. I can see his position, but he was asked about what would Jomez look like in 3 years, and he specifically answered, it'll be the same. Nothing will be changed. We have no plans to make changes in 3 years. In other words, he answered his question, but then it's still left for interpretation. To me, is like, I think we're going to see changes in 2024. Not drastic changes, but I have a feeling that it's very similar to, say, like a Facebook Meta buying Instagram, in the sense that not much changes at the beginning, but Facebook Meta buys Instagram for its potential and its technology. There's a lot of companies out there that want to buy the smaller companies because they don't want to spend the money. It's much cheaper to buy a company than spend the money on research and development and wait for them to be able to acquire the technology. They'd rather buy the smaller company, gobble up their technology and use it, apply it to the bigger company, and then kind of let the smaller company, in a sense, not fall away, but not be as relevant. And I have a feeling that's what's going to happen with Jomez, not in the sense of, I don't want to, like, I know people are like, oh, Jomez, but like the whole post-produced coverage thing.
So let me ask you this really quick, because you said post-produced full round coverage drops off. Do you mean like the full tournament? So when we get the Disc Golf Pro Tour 4 hour long video that comes up, or DGN rather, but we'll still get the Jomez, one card follow the entire round?
I think that will fall away.
Okay, you think we're going to lose that?
Not necessarily in 2024.
But 20, okay.
25 or 26. In other words, yes, like right now, let's say Jomez Buhr Open, right? Mm-hmm. There's the live coverage of each round, FPO, MPO, and then you could turn around and go to Jomez and you could watch every round, 45-minute full round, holes 1 through 18, right?
Yeah.
That product, I believe, is going to go away. That product I believe what'll happen is they will take the talent and the resources and the intellectual property that works for Jomez, put it into the live. Live will become a better product, and people will then start watching more live. And then the audience for the post be like, well, I already got a lot of the interesting stories, really cool slow motion, really great graphics. I got to see more than just the top 2-3 cards. You know what I'm saying? In other words, creating a show.
Yep, I totally get it.
Why would I want to watch the tournament, the post-produced tournament? I've already talked to people that are leaning that way. I've already watched part of the live. They may not watch every round, but I already watched the last 9 holes of the last round. I know who won. Why would I go watch Jomez? And so again, I'm not taking a stab at Jomez. I'm taking a stab at post-produced coverage. I think that's going to fade away.
And I don't even think you're taking a stab at them. I think you're expressing some concern in losing a friend that you really care about, and maybe you don't get to hang out with all the time, but you love them being there.
Right.
And I'll say I feel the same. That's kind of my thought process on it, right? Is everybody complains about the live coverage right now, live stream, and it's because there are a lot of kinks. Um, I was diehard gatekeeper and Jomez post-produced coverage for a while, and then I got Disc Golf Network, and I feel like my I feel like my partner's grandfather, when we used to go on the beach trips and he would sit in the back room with PGA on all day long, because I do that now. I live stream. I turn on Disc Golf Pro Tour and I'll keep it on for the entire day as soon as FPO coverage starts. If I'm at work and I got my dual monitors, I'm watching it. Um, Now it's I feel like, they're kind of two different I'm in two different modes when I'm watching them. When I was watching Jomez or Gatekeeper post round coverage, I'm laid up on the couch. I'm fully in it, and I always loved that. Like right before I go back to this one every time, and I don't remember what course it was on, but it was funny because they'll first three guys on the card will throw, and then all of a sudden you go into the backstory of Gavin Rathbun, and then Gavin Rathbun threw his first drive OB, and it was like, damn, we spent all that time learning about the guy. I was pulling for him, but you really get roped into that 35 minutes of hole 1 through 9, and then you skip to the next video for it. So if that goes away, I will 100% definitely miss it. Now, play devil's advocate a little bit, since I
Sure,
have
yeah.
started watching, Disc Golf Network, and I'm streaming these tournaments live. I might not watch it all on Friday and Saturday. I'm just
Right.
getting the pieces that I can. But come Sunday, I'm focused on watching those final rounds. And, if I really love a player, if it's somebody that I'm real interested in, or you hear about, I don't know, something that happened on the back nine, I'm going back and watching Jomez. But yeah, knowing what happened does take a little bit of the excitement out of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be I think it'll be a sad day if it does go away. But the flip side of that coin is live streaming is going to get that much better. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of the general majority audience is going to want the live product, and then the super diehard, not necessarily Jomez fans, but super diehard golf people are going, disc golf people are going to watch some of the post produced. But even then, I think the product is going to change completely, in the sense that live will be the main product, and then the post-produced stuff will become more of the highlights, the story stuff. But then, of course, that's going to lend to the live show. And I just think that's and that's not. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's just a thing.
It's growing pains.
Yeah, and I mean, we equate to big sporting events like the Super Bowl or Masters, where all of the story is being told in the live production or leading up to the live production. And, I have the Masters going. I'm not a golf watch. I haven't watched a golf match since the Masters, but the Masters is just such a cool thing that I like to watch it, or have it in the background while I'm working on stuff or cleaning or, doing other stuff. I like to watch it and see what happens. I like to watch the drama unfold. Anyway, I think the general audience is going to be live, and then the post-produced won't necessarily be post-produced tournament coverage, but rather post-produced commentary or Sports Center type stuff, or reels and TikTok of certain plays and people breaking down certain shots and stuff like that. I think that's what it'll turn into. So
yeah. Well, two things that are happening that I think Jomez will be able to, if we don't see the post-produced rounds, other bits of coverage or other things that I think that they're bringing to us now and will continue to bring to us, like the stuff that Joey Tamale does on the side with, what was the one with Simon? Was it called Hitting the Lines, where Simon went and visited a couple different courses? The Paul McBeth stuff. I mean, the Disc Golf Pro Tour on tour series, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved that. They just did Paul Ulibarri from scratch to skins or something. I can't remember what it was, but he took, the guy's a sports analyst, doesn't play disc golf, and Paul wants to see if he can, get his skills up to play in a scratch match.
Yeah.
And that's secondary kind of media that Jomez does an amazing job on, and I think, I did read one of the articles too, and Jeff Spring gives Jonathan Gomez credit as like one of the smartest marketing or media minds in disc golf right now, and being really excited to see what he does. And hopefully, hopefully the Disc Golf Network and Disc Golf Pro Tour allows Jonathan to do that, because over the course of, I don't know how long Jomez has been, however long they've been, or he and his now rather large team have been putting together post-produced content, like, oh geez, for sure, like,
Yeah.
great stuff.
No, yeah, man. I don't know Jonathan that well, but we do go back to the beginning days. I remember because I remember I was producing tournament coverage DVDs for Dynamic Discs, and I was going to. Remember being on the phone with. I just lost his name. People did not like him. He was he started Disc Golf Planet.
Is
What's his
that
name?
I don't want to put it. I don't know all of them like that. But was it guy? Oh, I don't know. Never mind.
I was doing video work for PDGA. He was at one time, I think, the marketing guy. Dusler. That's what it is.
Okay.
Dusler. John Dusler. Anyway, I remember talking to him on the phone saying, I think I'm going to buy an RV and I'm going to travel around and I'm going to go to big events and do disc golf coverage. And he was like, maybe he was kind of, trying to help me figure this out. But at the time I was married with two kids, and it was a crazy idea. And then I was like, well, I'll just go to some of the dynamic disc events and I'll create DVDs. And then Jonathan went and put tournament coverage. I was like, how am I supposed to sell DVDs if somebody's putting out coverage on YouTube? And so anyway, I remember back in the days of that, and that was pretty interesting. So anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and you bring up the YouTube piece. Like, when I started playing disc golf in 2019, I had known about it before, so I definitely had watched some stuff online, probably, the craziest ace runs and this and that. But Jomez was one of the first ones that I found, and having that coverage was so cool. I mean, it felt so much more intimate and personal than turning on a baseball game, just kind of the cameras being that close to the players. And I got to run into Jonathan one time, and, I just walked up to him and was like, hey, dude, thanks so much for what you're doing, because like watching the coverage is what really got me hooked on the sport, and the background stories too. And then, we talked a lot about Jomez, but I want to give a little shout out to Gatekeeper Media, because I am friends with Derek Skull, who's one half of Gatekeeper Media. I think they have put out some pretty amazing coverage too. And one thing that I think is really cool that they're working on, just to kind of open up the idea to more post-round coverage. But I know that they're working on, they're getting over to like Sweden and starting to work on some European tour coverage. And,
that's fantastic.
I guess they're supporting the Swedish Pro Tour. So, there's a lot happening in the United States with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but there's also a slew of players from Europe that are starting to travel, because you have to play the Disc Golf Pro Tour in the United States to really, I think, to compete with the best players in the world. But there's a lot of talent from overseas that we're going to get to see coverage of soon, and I think that's really exciting too.
Nice. Well, I'll make one more point. I'll kind of go back to what you said earlier about the secondary type of coverage and footage. I think that is just as important to the drama and the storytelling of disc golf and our players than the post-produced tournament coverage. I watched, what was it called on Netflix? What was it called? I think it's called Full Swing. And they followed a lot of the top players in golf. And I watched that series. I thought it was interesting. And it made me enjoy watching disc or golf tournaments much better, because I had some vested interest in a player. Like, I know that guy struggles with family and money and stuff. I know this guy struggles with being on top and then not being on top anymore. And so watching him play and not do well was like, gosh, dude, that's so, anyway, I knew the story. So Jomez creating that type of secondary stuff, or anybody creating that type of is so important to the growth of the sport, because it's going to be the guy that barely play. I mean, I got a guy I play disc golf with, Braxton, good buddy of mine. We play disc golf maybe once or twice a month. On a Saturday, I'll ask him about certain things going on in the disc golf world as far as players. He don't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that sounds great. But he still loves disc golf because he loves getting out. He loves throwing disc. He knows he likes his disc and stuff like. But to have those type of shows would make him have more vested interest in it, and I think he would connect better with the live coverage that's out there. So anyway, all right.
I don't know how many times I've cried watching those ESPN 30 for 30s about like a surfer or a tennis player or something. Like, there's just something about sports and the drama of sports that I think just anybody can connect with.
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, Anthony, thank you so much. It was great learning more about you, learning more about Happy with Par, and then thank you for indulging me in talking about some of the disc golf topics going on late. So that's really cool. So just as a reminder, really quick, tell people how they can follow your story online.
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram at happywithpar.dg, and then I'm on Facebook, Happy with Par, and check out the website, happywithpar.com, if you're interested in picking up any merch.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Bobby.